On this episode of Recycled Idaho, I get a chance to sit down with John Schiff and hear his story of what led him from video production to owning and operating Obtainium and starting a new online auction house, Idaho Surplus Auction. Enjoy. All right, I want to welcome everybody to a new episode of Recycled Idaho. I'm sitting here with John. How you doing, John?
Okay, thanks, man.
So,
Glad
John,
to be here.
John, I've known you for a long time, 10 years maybe? Has it been that long?
I think 10 years, yeah.
I've bought a lot of scrap from you.
You have.
We've bought a lot of e-scrap.
E-scrap.
And the greatest thing about a lot of the things that I get to do is I truly turn business relationships into like friendships, and that's one of and it's true. Like it's a true like friendship, not just a business thing. There's a component where it's both.
Yeah.
But one thing I don't know about you and all the years we've known each other, I don't really know what got you to where you are today. If you want to give us a quick history, or it doesn't have to.
Quick history, yeah. Show's what, half hour?
As long as you want it to be. Okay.
We can do a two-parter maybe. No.
Yeah, we can.
Okay, so, so what we do, our company's name's Obtainium, and what we do is we remarket lab, scientific, and industrial machinery. And weirder the better. And we don't deal much with, we try to avoid doing much with consumer electronics or technology or whatnot, and really go after stuff that scientists or makers or other entities that are dealing in the high-tech sector would use. Like we sold stuff to SpaceX and Scale Composites.
Okay. And SpaceX is one of the Elon Musk companies, right?
Yeah. And so anyway, we buy stuff all over the country. If I can get it from NASA, awesome. And also we buy a lot from high-tech businesses that go under. So here's how the business started. It was 1999, and I was working here in town doing video production, corporate communication.
Here in Boise, Idaho?
In Boise, Idaho.
Okay.
Yeah, I did that out of college. Did it for about 10 years. Oh, longer than that, about 15 years. So in 1999, I needed to go out and find a tape deck for a client at Simplot. And this was a tape deck that was what was called 3/4 U-matic, and it was an old technology that kind of got phased out, and we didn't have one to do our editing. And so it's like, God, I got to find one of these, because their whole archive at the time was, they had a ton of U-matic tapes, and we used to do a video newsletter for them. And
For Simplot?
Yeah,
Okay.
And it was on a different format, so I had to figure out how to get this tape deck, and I didn't know where it was. So driving to the airport one day, and I'm up by the BLM NIFC Center, and there's at the time, I think it's still there, there's a U.S. Forest Service warehouse just kind of right in that area.
Yeah, I think it's still there.
Yeah, so I'm driving by, and I just see this, sandwich board out front. It says auction, and it's like, oh man, I've never been to an auction before. And so I'm all about, getting out of your comfort zone, trying stuff. And if you fail spectacularly. So it's like, went in there and I go, yeah, cool. I'm going to go see what a government auction's like, because I've always wanted to go to one. So I walk in there and everything's laid out in lots, and I'll be dang if one of the lots was about 5 pallets of old AV equipment that they were getting rid of. Tripods, cameras, and one of these big boat anchor video decks. And it was like, wow, that's serendipity.
Did like a light come down from the heavens and shine on
exactly.
it for you?
Yeah, this whole warehouse,
Yeah.
just like in Indiana Jones. So I see that deck there, and it's like, whoa, okay, I'm going to put a bid in on this. And it was sealed bid at the time. And I had no experience with auctions. It just wasn't really a thing. And
so a sealed bid, that just you put your bid in, and just whoever's the highest gets it, right?
So you'll have a number of lots. and then an item list if they're that good, or you just get to inspect it. And then you write down a number, fill out the paperwork, put it in an envelope and submit it. And then they open them up at their leisure on a specific date.
Okay.
And away you go. So I just said, you know what, this stuff had 16 millimeter film cameras in it, really nice old gear, really. And I just said, you know what, I am not going to get this, but okay, I'll write a bid down. And I thought it was a good bid and put it in and there.
Do you remember the number?
It was $400.
Okay.
And I think, what did I say, 4 or 5 pallets worth of
Yeah.
stuff. So your standard pallet. And it was about single level and some supplies. So, I didn't know, I don't think I even remembered when they were going to open the bids. So I forgot about it. And it must have been 3 weeks later or something like that. I get a letter, with their return address. They're from, I think it was GSA or something like that. And open it up. I won it. And that was awesome. So I go down to the bank, get some money, go out there. And I had an old Isuzu Trooper at the time. And I did a couple loads back to my garage. My wife's at work at the time. And I just threw it in the garage.
Is that the same Isuzu that you had when I first met you?
Yeah.
You had like a tan one?
Oh, no. It was gray. It was an 88.
Okay. I'm thinking of a different one.
And it was awesome. Oh man, I can tell you some stories with that. That built the business. That was a great old truck. So anyway, I go back and forth, and we had, as many people's garages are, you got your own crap in one bay, so you only have space in one side to park your car. And that was where my wife parked. And so I just filled it because I had to get it out of there. And my wife comes home, and I tell her the project.
I can just imagine.
Yeah, the garage opens and it's just full of all this ephemera. It's like, and so I thought, God, how am I going to get rid of this? And a light came on. It's like, I'd been playing around with this website called eBay, and it was brand new. It only been around. eBay had been around since I think '95. And I think I discovered it in '97, and anyway, so I got the deck. Anyway, sold it back to Simplot for $400 and did the work. And
so you sold the deck,
yeah,
for the $400.
For the $400.
So the rest was you're gonna be in the green already.
Yeah. And at the time, $400, that was a paltry sum for this old antiquated deck. I mean,
yeah.
If you had to go get one from B&H or any of these places, you're 4 figures. So anyway, so made my money back, and then I got this whole thing, and it's like, I got to sell this. And so I put it up on eBay, and man, it was just like, in those days, it was just like throwing something in the water with piranhas in it. It would just get gobbled up. And it was one of those things that everything I listed, it was auction format, would just sell. So it's kind of like.
Would you sell it like at the number you're hoping for, or would it go like a lot higher? Or is it kind of a mix? God,
it was crazy. Well, and I was part of that madness because I would buy stuff. It's like, here's an old lunchbox that I had as a kid, and I paid $30 for it. So there was some just irrational exuberance with that.
I remember, you said it came out in '95?
Yeah.
That sounds about right. Because I remember my dad always had a pretty good computer. I would play, I don't even need old computer games on it, and that's what I would use. But he would always kick me off.
There's an auction ending.
Because he was so addicted to eBay.
Oh, man.
And he had auctions every day. He had like a schedule.
Yeah.
And he had this big clock, like this big, with like a real accurate one that had like a countdown.
Yeah.
And he would like, try to snipe it in there, like this big,
boom.
Like boom, like he had it down to like a science.
Yeah.
And it got to like, my dad's a little obsessive with things like that, and that like became his obsession. And that's kind of shifted, where he just buys stuff on. It seems like he gets an Amazon delivery every single day. He
Yeah.
finds deals on Amazon now.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, a lot of good deals on Amazon. That's one of our sales channels. But so I digress. Anyway, so I start selling this stuff in the garage to get rid of it and appease my wife. But what was really interesting, as I sold stuff on eBay, I get this little kick in the back of your head, this little reward, feeling. It's like, wow, this is really cool. There's people out there that want what I have. And, being self-employed, as your audience probably knows, when people want to hire you or they want to buy from you, that's a really good feeling. When you're waiting around for that phone to ring, like I used to do in my previous career in video production, man, half the time you're waiting, hurry up and wait. Or you're doing other type of work to get people to see you and hire you, and it's very competitive. And a lot of times, the work that you did was not that wasn't fulfilling internally.
When you're doing like film production.
Yeah.
Where were you doing that at?
I was doing that here in town.
Oh, okay.
And,
are you born here? Born and raised?
Grew up here. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
And so do some fun projects, but they be commercials or or a news firm. I get hired by a news firm to do an interview for let's say like for the NBA or a CNN or something like that, where they just want a body to go ask some questions, and it's kind of like, okay.
It wasn't like your passion then. You weren't like real passionate about it.
I love the business.
Yeah.
And I wanted to be in film, and I just never seemed to know how to put it all together to do it.
That's such a competitive field.
Yeah.
It's such a
and that's a whole nother podcast.
There's
some
sure.
fun
Like,
stuff in the production community here in Boise, and that 80s and 90s. That was just
my good friend
nuts.
Anthony Sanchez. He still does some commercials for Idaho Lottery.
Okay, yeah,
Real creative guy.
Yeah, I did a few of those for Drake years ago. Yeah.
Okay, and he's kind of filled me, and he does plays, and he's just in that kind of community.
Yeah.
He's kind of gotten in, and I think that's sometimes the hard part, especially if you want to get to like the top level.
Yeah.
How do you get in to the industry? Like, is it I would imagine a lot of politics.
Well, it can be, yeah, and it's a social game, like any business. It's built on friendships, like ours.
Yeah.
You like. There's nothing wrong with it. You like to do business with people because you have money, you have time, you have a number of things that you're responsible for. So you want to deal with known quantities, and you got friends.
And friends and trust, it's all kind of connected. Like, I love doing business with people I like. Mm-hmm. Number one, like that's my favorite. At the end of the day, but I think that also circles around to trust.
It does.
So it's like, for instance, if I bought a load of boards from you and weighed it, and I'm like, oh, okay, I paid you, $4 a pound for these. But then I get to the bottom, it's full of like Transformers.
Salt that lot.
I'm not saying that happened. I know if it did. Oh. I know if it did, I can call you. And I can be like, John, I believe this is a mistake. Can we fix it?
Yeah.
And there's some guys you can do that with, and there's some guys you can't. There's some guys who are like, no, a deal's a deal.
No.
And and I think most people got the sense like I've said this 100 times, I'll say it 100 more. I want to do business with like you for 30 years, not 3 months. So I'm not in the game to make a bunch of money in 3 months. I want to make
you get it,
a little bit.
You nailed it on the head.
I don't know if I get it, but that's the truth. That's how I really feel about like everyone I deal with. Like I'm not here for 6 months, 3 months. I want to be.
Yeah.
I want to be sitting here, do a follow-up in 30 years with you, see how things are going, Well,
we'll be going. I don't make enough to retire yet, and I don't plan on doing it. Yeah. But, you get it. It's always what's been a good relationship between us and United Metals. I worked with Greg before
Greg Brown.
Yeah.
I learned a lot from Greg Brown.
Yeah, I too. Love Greg. And it was always a win-win. And, a lot of times, I got to ask, hey, what's it, got to help me out here because I don't know what this is worth. Can you help me out? And I always felt like you guys came back with an honest answer. And, you got to make a profit. I know that. But I always felt like, you kind of laid it out on, where you need to be, where, I need to be. And it's been equitable and really fair and profitable. So been happy, very happy with it.
So going back to eBay,
Okay.
that's kind of where you
So
like the...
So we liked eBay, yeah. So we were basically sold pretty much everything I had. And I remember standing around in my office one day waiting for the phone to ring, and I had one room.
And you're completely on your own at this point.
I had
are you working at another job and doing this as a side hustle?
I had been doing this. No, this was my total gig out of
college. You're just working. You're your own boss. You're your own.
Yeah.
Do you have any employees yet? Just you?
No. It was all, as my mentor said, it was all circus people.
And you're just out of your garage.
So the video business wasn't. It was. I had an office in Belgravia. I shared it with.
And on the video side, that was just all you.
That was all me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. So I used to edit. I wouldn't shoot. The guy I shared office space with, he was a shooter. He was older than I by about 16 years, and so he was well established as a videographer here in town. But I would started gripping with him, and then I would develop kind of support services, and then one of them was editing. So I did a lot of editing, and so yeah, I was basically on my own. So. Yeah, getting back to the eBay thing, I'm waiting around for the phone to call, and this is around 99. And, Boise wasn't as prosperous as it is now. And I've been noticing that my corporate work was kind of getting shaky, and the phone wasn't ringing as much. And this was, right before the bubble burst. And when Silicon Valley gets cold, Boise gets a sniffle. Boise caught a cold well before the bubble burst, and my business just dried up. But the thing with the eBay is eBay just kept going, and I sold everything I had in that lot. And I remember looking around in my office going, what else can I sell? What else can I sell? I was hooked.
How much is this worth?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'm looking up at the wall. I don't need this extra microphone. There you go.
Yeah.
And it was serious. And so I'd do that.
You get almost like a rush, like kind of like a gambler's rush, almost something like that.
Bingo. Yeah, thank you. I didn't have the words for it. You hit it. Yeah.
So we've talked about this. Sage and Marissa know this as well. Like we talk about Gary Vee a ton, and he's always on eBay.
Yeah.
Selling stuff and yard selling. And he does it. He doesn't need that money, He does it.
He doesn't.
He does it because he likes it. And he's way into trading cards, like football cards.
Yeah, he's into sports.
And he's into yard selling, and he likes it because he just has that spirit about him. He's got that hustle, and he'll say, he's like, I'd much rather do this than buy stocks because I don't get any enjoyment buying and trading stocks. I don't like it. I would rather go buy, a LeBron James rookie card.
Yeah.
And sit on it for 2 years and gamble that way. And so when you bring up your eBay and stuff, it's reminds me of when I listen to Gary Vee talk about yard selling sports cards.
Yeah.
And I hadn't been on eBay for years, but my neighbor, Russell Shoemaker, he helps manage a hops farm out in Parma.
Okay.
Really good dude, but he is, neck deep in the football trading card world.
Wow.
And I went over there to give him some money for some scrap. And he's like, dude, you got to come look at my football cards. I was there for an hour looking at football cards.
Okay.
And he was showing me eBay. And how much they were selling for, and it blew my mind.
Yeah.
Like that, and kind of where eBay's gone too. eBay's shifting, Because I'm sure, are you still selling on eBay? I'm sure you are.
Yeah. So we sell on eBay. We have a couple websites for our different sales channel. We sell on Amazon, And we've really, what you need to do as a small business is, don't make the mistake that I did in my previous business and have like one or two major clients. You got to spread it out so you got all these revenue streams going, because they will stop, and you will get interruptions in revenue in one of these streams. So you've got to build out, and so revenue stream.
Nothing's
scrap,
forever. Like you got to be able to adapt.
Yeah.
Like in this industry, in the scrap industry, no doubt. Like it's different every day.
Yeah.
In anything, like that's one thing I've learned. Like even just the positions within a certain company, those people got to be willing to adapt to change to the current market.
Yeah.
So.
There's two directions, forward and back, and there's no cruise. You can for a while catch your breath and cruise, but you got to be focused on, if I'm not moving forward, I'm moving back.
There's a good analogy that someone told me. It's like when you're on the freeway. Everyone that passes you, that zooms by you, is an asshole, and everyone that's going slower than you is an idiot. I was like, that's a good way to
thought about that.
I was like, that's a good way to look at it. Everyone's always kind of comfortable in their spot.
Yeah.
And earlier you said you got to be able to fail big.
Yeah.
And I love that. Like I love when you can learn to fail.
Yeah.
And not let it destroy you.
Yeah.
And you grow from it. That's when the true success begins, I think.
Yeah.
Like, and I'll be the first man, it took me a long time to figure that out, because I'm competitive and I don't like failing, and it would bother me. Like when I would like not get a customer or anything, like even my other careers, like other jobs I had, like not get a placement or sell a cell phone package, like anything. Like it used to kind of like weigh on me. And recently, the last few years, I've learned to really embrace it. And one way I do it is I go macro. I go like, if we lose an account, and it was because maybe say like nothing that we could have controlled, I'll be like, that sucks. I hate losing an account. I hate that, but I'll go there, shake their hand, thank them for the business, and I'll learn from it.
Yeah.
And I will think, I got a beautiful family at home. My kids are healthy. My wife's healthy.
Yeah.
I'll go macro. I go macro, and that helps center me. So I'm sure you've had some pitfalls and things.
Yeah.
And how do you guys handle that when you lose? Like you said, when you are relying on one or two customers and you lose one, that could really screw things up, right?
It could. And so when I'm doing corporate communication, I would work with a few of the businesses and ad agencies in town, but they were one would keep you busy for a while, and so you got that revenue stream. You'd have to say no to others, and then when that dries up, you have to jump over to another project, revenue stream, and so when you don't get any of those, streams to fish in, you're kind of really waiting. And so, one thing that I've always done in every business that I've started is, when I started it, I look at the one that I did before and look at what didn't I like about it, and I'm not gonna carry that into my new business.
Yeah.
So one thing I did with the eBay business that I really liked was,
what did you call that business?
Obtainium.
Oh, that was
that's where it started.
It's been Obtainium this whole time. That's
the whole
awesome.
time. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And so one thing I really made sure with the eBay business was get your money first. That was a cool thing. People wanted what you sold. You usually got your money up first, or it came in the mail, and then it didn't ship until it was paid for.
Okay.
Okay. So let's say I go and do a job for, let's say a big corporation here in town. Wasn't Simplot. She'll remain nameless. So you do a project and you'd work a month for them. You get it done, it gets reviewed. So after that month, you have a stack of paperwork you have to fill out on this project and submit it. And once that goes through, 45 days to get paid. And you're a small fry.
Sounds like you're in the scrap industry.
Yeah, cash flow is king, man.
Yeah.
And especially when you're one man shop and you're trying to make it. Cash flow is king. And one thing I like about United Metals is
we'll pay you the same day.
Yeah.
Yep.
Cash flow's king. It's wonderful. It's like, get a little bit of juice, or what you talked about, that Vegas trip in your head. Anyway, so eBay evolved, and so when the internet.com bubble burst, there was just a flood of stuff that came on the market because there was all that dumb money investing in startups that just shouldn't have even been there.
A lot of people lost a lot of money.
A lot of people lost a lot of money, and then manufacturing in Silicon Valley and all over the place started to kind of condense and go overseas over the years, and this was kind of the start of that. So my video business kind of dried up, but now there's all this stuff out there to sell on eBay, and
you could probably buy it right if you knew where to buy it.
Yeah, and wasn't a lot of competition there, and so I would hop in a Ryder or Penske truck later and go down to California, fill it up, bring it back. And my wife, so I started this business in the garage, and my wife was on board because I made her a deal. It's like 1 year. We'll do this for 1 year.
Did you take her side of the garage?
Yeah, it took the whole garage.
Okay, so she had to park outside for a year.
She had to park outside, yeah. And so the agreement was I'll scrape her windows,
okay,
make sure the car is warm and everything else, but 1 year. And she said, okay, I'm good with that. So, that's what you got to do with goals is you got to define when it's going to happen.
Yep.
So what is it? They say dreams are goals without a timeline or something
like
that. Yeah. So the 1 year really helped, and it was about.
Well, what was your goal for the year? What was the goal for the end of the year to
grow?
Be able to go get a shop.
Go get more stuff. Grow. Yeah.
Okay.
And so about 10 months in. I just outgrew it because, we could process orders and we would pack, and we had tabletop photography, and we would pack in the garage, and then my office in the house, we, would take the orders and process them there. But we stored everything off site in up the hill in self-storage.
Okay.
And so these were just filling up. So I think I had 5 of them self-storages at one time. So about 10 months in, we said, hey, we got to go big, go home. And so we rented some incubator office space down in Garden City. And, those are the places where it's just a box with a roll-up door and a little sheetrocked area for an office.
Yeah.
So got one of those, about 1,500 square feet.
Is it just you still?
Well, from the time, I had 2 other people that helped me part-time, and they were also in the film and video business. And, at that time, since we had that, kind of contraction in the market, there was just no work for anybody, especially in Boise, Idaho. So my friends were unemployed too. So
they came and helped?
Yeah. So one of them, she was great with graphics. And she did the tabletop photography and, of course, could build some of the listings and whatnot. And then my other friend, he would do a lot of the packaging. And then when we'd go, on road trips to go pick stuff up, Hill Air Force Base was one place that we'd go and pick up old computers.
Where's that at?
Down in near Layton, Utah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And, that was an interesting one. That was pre 9/11, and that's when the government still sold computers with hard drives in them, and we can.
They won't let anything off the base nowadays without it getting. I've seen it here. They send officials here, and they'll watch you.
Yeah.
They'll watch it till it's demilled.
Yeah,
and it's and we're all right, we're gonna, it's stuff that has no intellectual value really, but it's still I get the protocol.
Yeah.
So I could only imagine, post 9/11 the changes on selling computers.
Yeah. Yeah. So, the rules never changed with the military. you know, you had to keep a paper trail. I'm going to digress a little bit. You had to keep a paper trail, but the sensitive materials, they weren't really up on the technology, so some stuff would escape, you know, and get out. But it was your responsibility not to let it proliferate, you know, so you've got to demill it or destroy it. And, you know, hard drives are one of them. That's another podcast. You want to get into that kind of stuff, you know, some of the interesting technology that we run across when we were buying and selling this stuff. Oh, my God. So there are a lot of smart people out there. Anyway, so we're in this incubator space, and it's growing and buying stuff. And, you know, you're fine-tuning the whole process and figuring out who you are and what you do well. And with this business, it was just a blessing because I never imagined myself doing it, and it wasn't glamorous, and definitely didn't go to school for it. But there were so many components in there that worked. And it was, you know, and it's kind of like one of those things. It's when you have an opportunity and it feels right, try it, take it. You know, it might not be glamorous, it might not be what you really think you want long term, but you know, if you
you almost
take
get
that,
like
take that opportunity and see where it leads you.
did you almost get like a moment of clarity where you're like, this is it, like this is what I'm gonna do, you know? Because I've had that myself in this industry. Like I kind of remember around the time it happened. I'm like, you know what, like. I fucking like scrapping. Like I'm gonna just, I'm gonna give it my all. You know? I like this. I never, when growing up, I didn't think I'd go this path. But that's how life throws you a curveball and you deal with it. You know.
Yeah, exactly. And you can apply a lot of these skills that you've had in other areas. If you can apply those into a new field, that's innovation. And a lot of people will see that and think you're a genius, and it's like, no, these were just a skill set that I had here, now we're applying it here, and it looks cool because it's never been there before. So one thing that we did was, and this was no brainer, it's like in the beginning days of eBay, you'd be lucky to get one fuzzy, crappy looking photo in your listing, if at all. And so from out of the gate, since used to do video production and still photography and everything, we would just cram pictures into our listings.
And that's a game changer right there.
And this was, this is a no-brainer. This is late 90s, early 2000s. It was like, what? And so we'd have a server off-site and host our own pictures, and then we would also composite them because eBay would only give you like 6 slots or something, so we'd stick like one photo that was a composite of a number, so we could just stuff our listings with photos. Because a lot of times when you get high-tech items, you don't know what you have.
Yeah.
So you have to make empirical observations saying, okay, what is this? Oh, it's made out of paper. It's got a top on it. The dimensions are such.
Yeah.
It's warm. It looks like it holds liquid. So you have to explain these things.
Yeah.
And then put a model number, part number, but you don't know what it is. And pictures help with that process.
When you're putting it out there, say you got something very high-tech you're putting out there that you might not even really know what you have, did that eBay platform help find the right buyer for it? Or sometimes
it did. And they did it right back then. I worked, back then, it did. They had incredible market share, and they were doing something very unique. And I hate to say it, they pretty much threw it away in the early 2000s to chase the Amazon model. And they were just they were monsters. They were so much bigger than Amazon at the time. And they just had this unique sales model and threw it away to chase this other one that was going to eclipse them. They knew that. But it's like, why would you do this? Why would you?
Yeah, I mean that's a good point. Maybe I think
you're not going to be as big as this company, but don't throw away your value
what you're
proposition.
Good at, and what
to chase that
and what's needed. Like even you. what kind of led you in your path is you saw a potential for that type of business and a need.
Yeah.
And really a need. Like, any like really good business that's really unique finds a need that isn't being met.
Yeah.
And they figure out how to do it and make a profit off of it. I mean,
Yeah.
and I think that's awesome. That's always like the best stories. Like, no one was doing this, and if they were, they weren't doing it well.
Yeah.
And I can do it better, and
Yeah.
I can do it, and I can pass that value. I can find this really cool stuff, like a tape deck that Simplot needs, and get it to them and also make another profit. Or I can find this high-tech device and find this guy, across the country.
Right.
And then I'm sure you kind of held on. Once that person found you, they probably follow your eBay, eBay channel, or I don't know how they call it. But
some would, yeah. But
then you get reoccurring customers. And then I would imagine you built some relationships through that.
Built a lot of good relationships after the fact. The one thing that's was a challenge and still is the nature of our business is such that we won't have the majority of our inventory is always churning and unique. It's not like we have 1,000 widgets and our whole warehouse, has a product line, like maybe like an office supply or something like that you can count on and sell. It's always changing, so you have to be flexible. So the downside of this business is you're constantly attracting customers. There's not a lot of repeat business. So you still have to be professional and encourage it and whatnot, because maybe out of those hundreds, you get one good relationship or out of 1,000 or whatnot. But you still have to treat, it's all about the customer. It's never about you. You focus on the benefits and the service you're providing. And so when you get a good relationship like ours, you just, you make them family, because, they're few and far between. And keeping a customer is a lot cheaper than going out and finding a new one. I'll tell you that.
Oh, hands down.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't even know how to put a price on that. Like, I don't even know how to measure that, because we talk about that, like retaining customers and employees.
Yeah.
Is so much cheaper than getting new ones.
And you learn, and then when you get a friend, you can learn from your customer. You get to know them and talk with them. You find out what they do and what their needs are. You can say, oh, yeah, you know what?
Oh, we can help you here.
Yeah, or I know somebody that I can hook you up with. So, again, like you're talking about in the film business or whatnot, it's your friends and who you know and who you can set up and trust. And
it's like one of my scrap friends, his name's Andy. He lives in Kentucky. He owns a scrap yard over there.
Okay.
We've been texting back and forth about brass, and I met a guy on LinkedIn named Eddie, who flew out here from Ohio to kind of show us some stuff about brass.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and just because I hit him up on LinkedIn, I'm like, hey, I love that video. Any way you could teach me more? He's like, yeah, I'll fly out there. And I'm like, you don't have to. And it's hard for us to ship all the way to Ohio where it makes sense, since we're so close to Portland.
Right.
So we haven't put any loads together. But I've shared Eddie's contact with 2 people that are right by him. I'm like, man, if I lived where you did, I would sell every piece of brass I had to Eddie. So even there, like,
it's a good investment for him, man.
And even Eddie paid for the plane ticket. That's gonna pay off, like, because like all the contacts I have, and like, and when they're like, hey, who do you sell your brass to? I'm like, man, I sell it to these guys in Portland usually, but if I lived back over there, I would hit up Eddie.
Yeah.
And that just kind of boils down to taking the time and talking to people, and then taking the small risk on putting a little money to fly it somewhere. Because you might, not everything's gonna pay off, but you are gonna have ones that do, and then if you can get some enjoyment out of it, you get some knowledge out of it. Like, there's just, it's impossible to measure some things like that. Like, it's like,
you got it.
Doing the marketing, like, I help with a lot of it, but with the help of a lot of really smart people in that room right there.
Mm-hmm.
But measuring a return on investment, even in the marketing spectrum, is difficult. Because it's really hard to actually put a number on it. And I think that's true on any aspect of business. You know?
Yeah. So. Well, if you work with, this is just my view, but if you work with a marketing agency and anybody promises you returns on your investment, I'd say go find somebody else. It's always, hey, it's always a crapshoot, and you bet your judgment, as J.R. Simplot used to say, and you make these decisions on what you think are the right areas that you'll get influence or you'll get a return on. And great, if it fails, it's not a failure. And so my mantra, my cut line that I always come back with, it's not failure, it's tuition. Mm-hmm. And when I buy stuff, it's like movie producing. You're going to have so many flops, but you're going to have a blockbuster that pays for everything. Well, in the beginning, I had some just major flops. But
so you had some expensive classes.
Oh, yeah. Expensive classes, yeah. Well, and here's the thing: is those expensive classes, you had to take a big old truck, across a few states and load them up yourself and drive back and eat sandwiches and stuff. So your nose was just ground in it, and like your San Diego guy. I was that guy once.
Oh yeah,
more than once, where it's like, oh, what did I just do? And so it's just tuition, and you learn and grow from it and move forward, and that's all you can do. That's all you can do.
So how did Obtainium lead you into some of your other businesses?
So
'cause you've got at least 3 more that I know of.
Yeah, so we just diversified the revenue streams. So we would get truckloads of stuff, and that's kind of how our business model works. Is we've had it to where a manufacturing business will shut down, and it's not so much of them to sell you all this stuff, but to maybe reclaim lost space or just to get out of a space. And so what your value proposition at that point is, you solve a problem for somebody. And a lot of times that problem isn't monetary. It's giving them more bandwidth. So it's like, okay, I'll come in and I'll say, okay, you got to get this place cleaned out. We'll take care of it. You're done. And it's a trust. It's a trust, and it's a known quantity. And the person knows, it's like, oh yeah, John and his crew, they'll clean this out, and we're great, sweep it and everything. So we'll do work like that. So we bring a truckload of stuff home, and there might be some what we call pieces of gold in it that is the technology we like to deal with, and we're good at representing and selling online, and we'll sell it. But then, I said earlier, before I went into the incubator space, I had all these self-storage units.
Yeah.
Well, that's what would get filled up with what we call chaff.
Not the gold.
Yeah. So when you're hungry, you start going through and say, okay, well, this is you're offering $100 bills there, on product, and then now you're just like, oh, I'm hungry. I got to make rent. What can I get? Where can I get 20?
I need some $5 bills ASAP.
Exactly. Yeah. So you'd keep the chaff, because it's like
still
mining.
Has value.
We call it mining, and all that. And so and that's a lot of it. The name Obtainium came from, because it's like, wow, what's this? It looks cool. It looks like it might be valuable. What is it? And, that's kind of the definition. If you look online, what defines Obtainium. And so that's where the name came from. So anyway, so we'd have all this other stuff, and I was trying to figure out where it goes, because it didn't fit this internet sales model that we developed that we're really good at. So we mined off all the good stuff, throwing it that way, and then I have all this chaff. Well, so starting in 2006, I rented a space off of Shinden, thinking I'm going to have a surplus store because this stuff is cool. I gave stuff away to schools and like BSU engineering students, but there's just that was limited. So I just had all this other stuff, and I hated throwing it away. And hated to scrap it.
No, I know.
It wasn't that part of the food chain yet.
I will always say this to everyone: if you can sell that item, as what the item was originally intended for, do it 100% of the time, because you're gonna make double, triple, 10 times the amount on the scrap end. If it's at the end of life where no one wants it anymore,
end of life.
Send it this way. That's our niche. Like that's our niche on not just what you do, like with manufacturers or, just households. They're cleaning out their garage and they this stuff didn't sell in the yard sale, and they're ready to just get rid of all these lamps.
Yep.
Bring it here. So that's our niche. I never ever try to persuade someone to scrap something that isn't scrap yet, because I like seeing people. I love seeing old stuff get reused. I love the true nature of like recycling.
Yes. Yeah, I love it. I got this thing. It's called the 4 R's, and it's called the first one is reuse. The second one is resell, and the third one is refurbish, and then the fourth one is your end of life recycle.
Okay.
And so that's just always going through my head is how can we do this?
We'll always just take what we can get. We're kind of the bottom feeders.
But you make people like us successful, and there's a lot of scrap that comes that way. So anyway, let me go through the surplus store. So I started a surplus store, and I filled it up, and it took about 2 years before I had enough people that somebody I could get to run it. And so in 2008, I started a store called the Reuseum, and that was on Shinden for a little while.
And it's still there, right?
Well, that no, it was on 45th Street.
Oh, that's
kind
right.
of a strip mall next to a Mexican grocery store, and so then we moved off of what was it, 33rd Street, I think, in 2009. To a much bigger place, and I just filled it up with all sorts of really cool stuff. And the brothers who owned the building kept renting me bigger chunks, and finally one chunk had this office area that we could kind of use for a classroom. One thing that was cool about the Reuseum is one of the initial guys that was running it and really gave it a good physical kind of given good identification was a fellow by the name of Dave Oltis. And one thing he did is he encouraged a lot of workshops. And so we got this other space that had offices in it and started doing workshops in it. And reusing a lot of stuff. And then he had like deconstruction labs to where we'd get stuff in like old VCRs and stuff, and show kids how to take them apart. But before you did that, you'd show them how the tape fit into the machine and stuff.
It was really how cool. It works.
Yeah,
and that stuff is cool. I mean, goes back to like that TV show my kids love is like how it's made.
Yeah, I love that show.
I love it too. Like it's just so fun to watch because you're like, oh, I just never thought about how they made, a tape deck, and then that's how they make it. And and I think people have a real thirst for that knowledge. So I think that's a need that you help provide to was it adults and kids or anyone who wanted to take the classes?
It was anybody.
Anyone.
Yeah, it was anybody that he had on that. But he had other ones where he would make bristlebot little robots and all sorts of different workshops. But anyway, so that was something, I basically was funding out of my pocket, and it was growing and growing. And so finally, we would have businesses approach us and want to give us stuff, and they'd ask you, it's like, are you guys a nonprofit? Because we're doing all these workshops and everything else like that. I'm going, oh man, I wish, because it's just not making any money with this Reuseum. It's like huge and it's cool and it's popular and everything, and it's just like, I'm just writing a check constantly.
Yeah.
And but there's real demand for it. So was it 2012, we turned it into a nonprofit.
Okay.
And then the tide kind of turned with that, and so businesses could donate to it. And it was a very unique model that pretty much, it's a unique model, period, and at the time. And basically that model was basically built on three legs, and one of them was the surplus store, recycling, and we just take stuff apart, donations, whatnot, give it to, and Greg helped us with that.
Mm-hmm.
And then education. So you had three legs that were also three income streams, and it nurtured a sense of community and provided a very essential and needed service in the community for not only for kids' education, the monetization of scrap and surplus and discarded technology. Somebody could bring in a drawer full of power cords they didn't have and donate it to a nonprofit, and they would monetize it, and then you'd see a workshop over here that as a result of that. And it's like, how cool is that? And then it was so instrumental having a good scrap dealer to help monetize and fund it
on the very end of life.
Man, yeah. So that worked out real well. And then it was a nonprofit, and then I kind of set that off and got out of that around 2015 because a good friend of mine became the executive director there, and they were doing some great stuff with education and the direction it was going, and they got some heavy hitters on their board. And it's like, it's one of those things. It's sometimes you just got to stand out of the way, and it can hurt. But it was just kind of like,
it can be hard.
I'm holding this thing back. And so I just,
and that's
I
hard.
just stepped out and it took off, and it's doing great today. And it's back on Shinda. So it's across from the Stagecoach Restaurant.
Yeah, that's where I thought it was.
Yeah.
No, a great shop, but you hit it on the head. It can be painful to, especially something that you've created.
Oh, yeah.
To step back and then be out of it, but it opens up a new possibilities. You got more time.
Yeah.
It opens so what's your big project now? What's your new thing?
Okay. So we're talking about revenue streams. So our big project, which again I'm trying to make it work, and I think it is. We're fine tuning the model. Is we're doing local auctions, and we basically are taking a unique stance on auctions. Our value proposition is such that it's not like anything else locally. And when we decided to do local auctions a year ago, or about a year and a half ago, we kind of looked at what everybody else was doing and tried to imitate that, because that's really good sometimes, is to see what other people are doing and what works. Don't reinvent the wheel. Go ahead and do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not copying or anything, because you'll add your flair to it and everything else. But people have broken trail before you. Why not take advantage of that trail?
Yeah.
So we started doing local auctions, and the problem with them is these really good auction houses here in town will do an auction with hundreds of lots, and we tried doing that, and I just
like Music's.
Yeah, awesome ones like that. Yeah,
they're great, and they have that new one over here in Meridian.
Yeah,
cool auction houses, but just a different format than yours. Then. Yeah,
so we tried to do that format to where we would try to get 150 lots up there of individual items. My warehouse is stuffed, and I'm trying to get rid of stuff. And so again, we kind of failed miserably at that. And COVID hit, and it was kind of like, okay, let's stop. And so I wanted to still do local auctions, but I didn't know how. And so with the COVID, we stopped, and then I just said, I got to give it some time here. I'll figure out this problem. I will figure it out. It's kind of like Einstein said, one of Einstein's stories, not that I'm comparing myself to him, was somebody would come to him with a problem, and he'd say, "Oh yeah, I know the answer to that. Give me some time, and I'll tell you what it is. I'll get to it."
Yeah.
And that's just kind of how it works. Is you have to empower yourself to know that you're going to come up with that answer. So I knew that this felt right. This had to work. So anyway, in December, I got my answer. And so and this is what we do today, and it's called IdahoSurplusAuctions.com. And what we do is we do maybe a dozen lots, and that's it. Because we're a small shop, we don't, that's not our main business, but we want to succeed.
Another revenue stream.
It's another revenue stream. So what we do there is we offer pallets of product that people can bid on and use it, you get a whole pallet of stuff that you can use in your business or maybe scrap out or resell on eBay. But we try to provide enough value there that whoever buys it can benefit. So it's a win-win.
Yeah.
We want to, we want people to come back. So it's not like we're trying to, get rid of crap.
You want returning users, to keep coming.
Yeah. And where that's unique in this market is pretty much all these auctions are onesie-twosies that the other auction houses do, and stuff goes for pretty much retail, but some of it goes for wholesale prices. But we try to just go after a select bit of people in the market that are entrepreneurs.
Okay.
That will say, hey, oh yeah, I see those 450 plush dolls on a pallet. I can make some money doing that.
Yeah, I'll sell them. I'll
Cool.
sell them one at a time. Or however.
Yeah, and it's like, hey, we're happy. We've got the warehouse space reclaimed because we've got a lot of stuff to sell. So we do that. So, and also another part of the value proposition is I kind of modeled it the way I would like to have it. You always say, in a perfect world, I would do it this way.
Yeah.
So another thing that makes us unique, you got to stand out, is we don't have buyer's premium.
Okay.
Because buyer's premium is what? They can always run from like 10% to 18%. And there's one in California I deal with. It's 25%.
Yeah.
Yeah, buyer's premium.
It's crazy.
And when you're trying to do math in an auction and playing with that, oh my God.
Well, and then
that's tough.
If you're a first-time person on that site, I've seen it. That's what we talked about, that guy from San Diego.
Yeah.
This guy got on a government auction, bought a bunch of aluminum shells that need to be demilled.
Uh-huh.
He didn't know scrap, so he didn't know the scrap value. He just Googled aluminum value, and then he found the LME, which that's not the actual scrap value, So he finds the LME, he does the math. He's like, oh, shit, I can make some money on this. But then he didn't realize the premium. I think it was 18%.
Okay.
You add 18% to your final whatever number it is, and you have to have it demilled by a scrapyard usually. I mean, there's no way we run those particular shells through the baler. Mm-hmm. And they deem that demilled enough, and then we box it.
Okay.
So we've done it before. We've won those bids, and we've done the math, and the beauty for the auction side is like you get people nationwide and you might catch someone that doesn't know what they're doing, and they made a lot of money on it. That guy lost like in $3,000-4,000. He had a brand new baby at home. He had to fly up here. And he lost, I think, $3,000 or $4,000, and we paid him the best we could. The best we could. Yeah. And I felt for him. But that guy, you think he'll ever buy something from that auction again?
No, it was good. Yeah.
Hell no. Like that's where like.
That was an MBA that was his tuition.
He learned, and maybe he will. Maybe he learned. Like okay, I can do it. But I gotta watch this, and I gotta watch this, and I gotta watch this. But that's one thing I've hated about all those online auctions: the buyer's premium, other. What other fees are there? On those things?
So the other one is credit card fees.
Okay.
And because a lot of times your business buying and selling is cash flow based.
Yeah.
And if you can have that 30 days to run it on your credit card, debt is bad in this business. You got to get the money in the bank. Cash flow is king, and you don't want to cut that cash flow by having a lot of debt. So when I say credit card, you're just leveraging that 30-day, grace period, whatever it is when you buy it.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, wow, no, let's not charge a fee, because fees can be anywhere from 3 to 5% on credit cards. And the way that a lot of firms do it is they give you a discount for cash if you don't use a credit card. But usually that just means, oh, you give me cash, there's no credit card fee. I don't know how that's a discount. So when I did our business, I actually give a discount for cash, and it's currently 5%.
Oh, wow.
So if you pay with cash, there's the incentive, because cash flow is king, we'll give you 5%. And so those three things I thought were really fun, and when I was when I buy stuff at auction and stuff like that, those are things that really influence my bidding, and they're just numbers that you have to keep in your head and keep adding up with your bid. And so it's really hard to participate and have fun in an auction if you're doing the math all the time.
Yeah.
And, of course, you can do a spreadsheet or whatnot. But so I just want to make it as simple as possible to say, you know what, I see about $500 off that lot. I'll make my level 200. And then what you're, it's like eBay. You know how much you're really going to pay. And it's like, oh, okay, let's do that. And it's worked out real well.
Good. People like it.
We've gotten feedback from people that say, I really like that. And then, of course, we don't have any on-site preview because we're a small shop. And then also with the COVID, we're kind of not into doing that. But one thing that we make up is we shoot a ton of pictures.
Yeah, I looked at them. You have a lot of good details, a lot of good pictures on there.
Again, that's a no-brainer. That's just left over from what we do with our internet business is if you don't know what it is, just take a lot of pictures. Somebody else knows. And we've gotten feedback from customers from that, too. They say, wow, I really like the pictures because, like, I can see data plates on a piece of equipment, or I can see condition, or what. So I feel confident when I bid. And it's like, that's something I really like, too, because a lot of times I bid on stuff to where I can't see it. There's no picture. There's no way to physically go out and inspect it. So then you're kind of at the mercy of this agency, government agency or business or whatnot, to take them on their word. And it's Vegas, baby.
Well, I'm
sometimes,
sure you've been burnt, probably.
Yeah.
So.
And you can't let your imagination get away from you, because a lot of times you'll paint a picture in your head.
Yeah.
Of what you want to encounter, and it's like, no.
The gambler takes over sometimes. We're like, oh, it could be this.
Yeah,
then I might bid a little more. So.
Yeah, and know where your margins are, what your costs are, and all that stuff, and just stick to it. And it's real hard because when you do auctions and purchases or competition and buying a big lot, and you know that somebody else is interested in it too, and they've approached a business, and so what's the biggest check I'm going to write based on this guy? And sometimes you can't make the numbers work. And if you can't make them work, don't try to make them work.
Yeah, exactly. You got to know when to walk away.
Yeah,
right?
And that's the hardest thing to do, because
Absolutely.
You think that's failure. And it's kind of like, no, that's a win.
Yeah, being able to walk away from something or change your mind on a stance you had on something or a philosophy, that's a strength. Like, a lot of people look at that as a weakness.
Holy smokes.
Which is weird.
It is weird,
It's
isn't it?
weird that that's perceived as a weakness.
Yeah.
When you maybe go back on something you had said previously. As long as you're open, like, I know I said this, but now I think like this, because my, I learned from failing,
Yeah, well, exactly. So. Yeah. So, and I think what plays into that is another thing I try to do too. And, I'm not perfect at it, but I try to do it is, if you're faced with a challenge and you say, okay, well, how am I going to package this or present it to this person? Mm-hmm. Well, I try to get in a mindset of saying, if I ever get in that situation, I just stop and get out in front of it, because
Okay.
then you don't have the bandwidth of holding it on.
Yeah.
And if you approach a lot of things in life that way, in general, you just imagine, it goes what you're saying. Getting out in front of it means you're admitting you're wrong sometimes.
Absolutely.
Or you didn't do it right, or you screwed up.
Yeah.
It's not a weakness.
Or like this person's better at it. Like let's this guy
man.
take over, and that could be like the hardest lesson to
Oh,
learn.
yeah.
You know?
Yeah, you
So-
find somebody, if somebody's, some of my best friends now, I met because I lost bids to them, and they were competitors.
Yeah.
And this is what's crazy about this business. And
That's just a testament to the kind of guy you are. Then, like if you're able to be friends with like your competitors, like that kind of can show you.
yeah,
Something, you know?
so. And I know that one competitor that I have all the time. That's we just love spending time together and talking, and just kind of like this, just spitballing. But then sometimes, and then we'll go bid against each other.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, it's fun, it's like, what's in your head? I guess Ron Yankee and JR used to do that too. They would go and fly and go. They both wanted antique agricultural machines and stuff like that. They both collected them, so they would fly on JR's plane
together.
Go together, play some. Play some cards.
You wouldn't leave them there.
And no, I never went, but these were the stories I heard. So they go to this auction and bid against each other for antique farm implements, and had a great time. And so when I remember hearing that story and running against my friend, it's like, yeah, okay, we can make this work. And and it's just amazing how many good friends that I've had that are and were and are competitors, and I just kind of like, okay, that's life.
Yeah.
And get out in front of it. There's, if you lose to them, it's like, a lot of times people who are successful will share that philosophy of how they got that success.
You're right. A lot of people, successful people, aren't afraid to share it, because I think they have a level of confidence that they can still be successful.
Bingo.
Yeah.
And so I've done that, and my friends and competitors, and it's like, hey, I just obviously just flubbed up on this one. What were you thinking over on this lot? Because what you bid, I just didn't see it.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, your competitors say, well, here, or
This is what it is.
Yeah.
Or they might be like, you're right, I lost my ass. Could go either way.
Yeah, and and it's good to engage and become friends, because a lot of your competitors are good at something else that you aren't, and that you will probably never be a focus of your business. So like one really good friend of mine, he does computers and IT equipment, and he's good at it, and I just don't do it. I just don't see it. I don't swim in those waters. But there are lots to where we butt heads and go after other stuff. And so it's really easy for us to say, this is what I thought was valuable here. And
do you guys ever do some trading after?
We do some trading after, yeah.
Perfect.
And, and it's, but, and he's long distance, so a lot of times, what's like with this other guy, I bought some stuff from him. First time I met him. We bought some stuff down in Nevada. It was an auction, and it was online. So we do this auction together, and it was for a whole bunch of computers, like semi-loaded computers. And I figured I can make that work. And so we started bidding. And finally, it was just the two of us. And it went for this price. And I lost. I had to walk away because I'm going, I can't make the numbers work. And what was really cool was the guy who was running the auction called me up and said, hey, you two were the only bidders on this. And, Steve only wants this pallet. And we still have, almost a semi-load of stuff. Would you be interested in it? And it's like, okay. And okay, well, I'm gonna give Steve your number. And it's like, okay, cool. So Steve calls me, and competitor, And first of all, I apologized because I said, "Hey, sorry
for running your number up."
I'm the guy who ran it up," and you just laughed it off because that happens. I've done that so many times. And Steve said, "Yeah, I just had these network switches that I wanted because I got a customer, and but I'm over here. I'm 80 miles away from where I have to pick it up. I really don't want to go back and clean out this warehouse and get all these computers. Would you be interested?" And it's like,
of course.
So he sold them to me for a fraction of what where I got out on the bid, and it was really cool. And I think I met another friend. He was really nice, and I learned a little bit about what he did, and he learned a little about me, and and so he sold me all those computers and sent a guy down he was in Nevada, sent a guy down, and he loaded the truck and we brought him back, and it just win-win for both of us. And that's just kind of the way you got to be in business. Is sometimes you're a competitor, and sometimes you lose, but hey, be gracious because
don't burn any bridges.
Don't burn any bridges.
You might not get
in
hindsight, it was good that you lost that auction because you got it for cheaper.
you got it for cheaper. Yeah, literally did.
But if you would have been a prick about it, you could have burnt that bridge.
Yeah.
And then he'd be like, "Oh, John, no, I ain't gonna work with him." That's where
take your ego.
Just being a good person goes a long way.
Take your ego out of it because that's another thing. I got a colleague, and it's like we're always shaking our head. It's like in business, it's amazing how many people don't say please and thank you, or identify a gatekeeper in the organization and find out what's important to that gatekeeper. So the gatekeeper is somebody you go through to actually deal with who you need to deal with. Okay,
yeah.
That's your gatekeeper.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you got to acknowledge their importance too.
Absolutely.
In the whole process.
Because they have the power to lock you out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So everybody in the chain, you say please and thank you to, like you say, you're not a prick to them, because a lot of people say, well, that's not who I want to do business with in this organization, so I don't need to spend any time with them. No, you do. You need to, it's the whole, package deal, so to speak. And so you please and thank you, and you're courteous to everybody, and you acknowledge people when they help you. You find out if somebody else in the organization might need something that you can provide. You just never know.
Well, I have a real issue with people that treat the CEO or the owner or the president, whatever title it might be, they kiss their ass, but then they'll treat the janitor or the guy that's pushing the broom like a idiot. Like I will thank you.
No.
Like I don't even want to hang out with you.
No.
I don't want that. Like I don't want that energy around me, man, because that's not how I was raised, and that's just not how my mind works. And it'd be fun. Sometimes the guy that you might think isn't important is important. Yeah, that guy might be the owner. That guy might be the president.
Oh, the guy.
And you're treating him like that, and it's hard to fix a reputation like that once you go down that path, and it's hard to fix that train of thought, I think, in people when they think that way. So
a lot of that.
I have an issue with that.
Yeah, well, and just think about it, this way too. Is the guy pushing the broom might be the one that can unlock the warehouse half an hour early for you. And save you a ton of money because you can, get it all done in one day instead of having to come back.
Yep, save you a couple $1,000s because you were nice.
Yeah, So. You got you got an extra water, throw it to somebody. It was kind of cool when I worked in film. It was very communal. And you worked with all sorts of people and all sorts of strata, if you will, in the production process. And, you have that stereotypical image of the director being an asshole and, not acknowledging. I'm sure that happens, but I ran into that very rarely. And because everybody knew that you're there to do the work, and the work isn't done until the work's done. It's not like punch in, punch out. So everybody there, they've agreed to, to do this job, and you get this money. And once you agree on that, you're there to get that job done, and whoever's in charge
You're a
directs it.
real team, I would imagine.
You're a real team, and you have to, if you're, lowly PA, which, I've done plenty of that, you need to know how to address all the gatekeepers, to get what you need, or a stinger cord or an apple box or something like that. And so you got to be nice. You got to play nice. And the ones that don't get called back. And that's just it.
Yeah.
And you got to show up. And that was another thing with the business, too, is I got so much business when I was doing video production because I had a radio telephone before there was a cell phone. And I paid like $1,500 for this thing. And it was like, in a year that I made $5,000 out of college. And my mentor said, this will print you money. And the whole reason was he instilled in the fact that when the phone rings, pick it up.
Absolutely.
And take the work.
Absolutely. I get one.
And he was right. And it worked. And it's like, okay, that was a lot of money out, but it paid.
It returned.
Yeah, it was a good investment.
You got your return on investment on that one.
I got my return on investment, but what was more important was it's like, hey, I'm calling John because he'll show up.
Yep.
He'll answer the phone. He'll show up.
Yep. And if he doesn't answer the phone, he'll call me back.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. Can't say that I'm really good at that today, but, try to have people in place that do that a lot better than me.
Yeah, it still boils down to a team, Like,
it is.
I've considered each yard and everyone as a whole, like we're a team, United Metals, and I like, and that's why I have to explain to everyone, like on a football team, the receiver might not be best friends with the lineman, but they respect each other.
Okay.
And that has to happen on any team. You have to respect each other. You don't have to be best friends, but you have to have a mutual respect for each other to make a team work.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you are friends, bonus, but you don't have to be.
Well, with you, it's easy to be a friend.
Yeah.
So, it's great. And I get that perception when we, bring stuff up to recycle that.
I'm glad to hear that.
You guys are a very cohesive unit.
Yeah, we try. Well, thank you for sharing. I'm excited to see how your auction does.
Well,
I'm excited to come do our boots on the ground portion with you.
Okay.
We're going to come tomorrow.
Okay.
If you're open to it still, we'll come check out your waravhouse.
All right. Warts included. It's not sexy. But,
no. We ain't selling sexy here. So.
Okay. I talked up a big, talked it up pretty big. So hopefully when you see it, it's kind of like, okay.
No, I think it's cool.
Not a retail
it's
outlet.
real.
It's real.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah. That's it. It's real, and we're real, we're honest, and what you see is what you get.
Awesome. Thank you, sir.
Glad to be here. Thank you.
Thanks.